So I woke up this morning and I saw this video. I swear to God, I didn't even know what to say. I just facepalmed. I'm going to play it to you and then we'll discuss.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq. I mean, of Ukraine.
Oh my God.
Iraq, too. Anyway. 75.
Oh my God. What was that? Oh, Lord. Talk about a Freudian slip. I think that's the mother of all Freudian slips. I feel like I shouldn't have to explain this, but for those of you who do not have the fortune of remembering the war on terror, this is George Bush, right? And he invaded Iraq. And that's one of the big criticisms that a lot of us have been making, is that this guy and Tony Blair, they invaded Iraq, they invaded Afghanistan. You know, they started all of these wars. Obama started a few more, and they turn around and say Putin is a war criminal. Well, hold on a second. If he's a war criminal, what does that make you? Huh? And all of your whole gang, Donald Rumsfeld and Paul Wolfowitz and Colin Powell. Remember how they went and they lied about Iraq? They said there's weapons of mass destruction. Man, I was alive. I remember this stuff. I can't tell you the number of times I heard him say nuclear weapons. Okay? And Dick Cheney, how could I forget Dick Cheney? I can't believe that he actually said this. Do you see how he shrugs it off? Do you see how he shrugged it off? And he's like, Iraq, anyway. Like as if that was some kind of, it was a bad trip to a club or something. Oh, Iraq. So he kills 1 million people and destroys, the one of the crown jewels of the Middle East, literally the cradle of civilization, right, where it all started. And he's like, oh yeah, right. Hey, I'm 75. Wow. Do you see how they all laughed? Look how they all laugh at this. They find it funny.
Electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq. I mean, of Ukraine. Iraq, too. Anyway. 75.
Oh, my God. I don't even know what to say, man. I really don't know what to say. Like, I cannot... If you don't remember it, you don't remember it. But I'm going to tell you, literally everybody hated George Bush. And this is funny why people say, like, Donald Trump is the worst. No. Donald Trump is a joke compared to Bush. Bush started the Department of Homeland Security, right? He didn't start CIA torture. The CIA used to torture people anyway, but he started a couple of new programs. He opened Guantanamo Bay. He started the mass surveillance programs with the NSA. They used to be called the presidential surveillance programs. That was with Dick Cheney. Invaded Afghanistan, invaded Iraq. Hurricane Katrina, again, completely, I mean, that was a disaster as well with FEMA. And I remember all of this stuff. You know what's funny also, what he says at the beginning? Look, the first thing he says is that, in contrast, Russian elections are rigged. And already when he said that, I was like, oh, come on, you're a hypocrite. Because until this whole thing with Orange Man, people used to say that George Bush rigged the 2000 election against, who was it? Al Gore. Yeah, right, with Florida. It was with Florida. That was the state that decided everything, the key state. And, everybody called it for Al Gore, that he won the presidential election. And then all of a sudden, it's it's Bush. I'm not going to get into all of that. But I'm just saying that this is something that people used to bring up a lot, that he rigged the election in the year 2000. So it's funny that he says that. But then he really goes and says perhaps the most honest thing that George Bush has ever said. Perhaps the most honest thing that he has ever said is that the invasion of Iraq was unjustified and it was brutal. And 1 million people died and millions were turned into refugees, and Iraq is still destroyed and still under occupation. And then ISIS came and ISIS spilled over into Syria. I don't want to get into it, really. I've got, how many times have I explained this? It's still worth explaining, but I want to show you something, because up until a few weeks ago, this video that I'm about to show you, this was the worst one. And, you know, this is Condoleezza Rice. So Condoleezza Rice used to be George Bush's national security advisor, okay? And so kind of like what Jake Sullivan is now. And she she also lied about Iraq. They all lied about Iraq. Okay, every person lied about Iraq in the Bush administration, and she is in his cabinet. And look at what she said a few weeks ago, talking about Russia and Ukraine.
When you invade a sovereign nation, that is a war crime. I mean, I think we're at just a real basic point there.
Well, I'd agree. It is certainly against every principle of international law and international order.
Oh my God. That was really painful. I mean, that's a war crime, right? Oh, yeah. Look who's your guest. Look who you invited to the studio. I'm living in an episode of The Twilight Zone. This can't be real. This is insane. This is like a parody. I gotta admit, Bush was always funny. That's the one good thing about him. He was funny, like, you know, in an idiot way. Here are some Bushisms to jog your memory and make you laugh.
If you're a single mother with 2 children, which is the toughest job in America as far as I'm concerned, and you're working hard to put food on your family.
Those who think that they can say we're only going to have a stimulus package, but let's forget tax relief, underestimate.
Oh, God.
Just making sure you were paying attention. You were.
I know the human being and fish can coexist peacefully.
What?
Responses have got to end in order for us to get the framework, the groundwork, not framework, the groundwork to discuss a framework for peace, to lay down.
All right. We are not at war with Muslims. We don't have a beef with Muslims. We want to be friends with Muslims and Muslim children. We're fighting evil people. It's important for the boys and girls of Thurgood Marshall to know that we're fighting evil with good. And one way to fight evil with good is you can help by writing letters to boys and girls your age. And so, in my State of the Union,
I'm gonna stop this here because there are a lot of them. Yeah, there's 8 years of Bush doing this. I think my favorite one was the one where he says something like, he's trying to say that saying, you know, hold on. I'm going to play you the clip so you can see what I'm talking about. It's this one.
there's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you.
It's fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. And he just balls it up. Anyway, man, going back to these 2 neocons over here, these 2 lovely neoconservative specimens. Wow, they're really something, right? This is kind of amazing, not just because it's funny, but I mean, it's actually very sad in a way, but it really exposes the whole hypocrisy of the situation that we're in right now, is that men like George Bush and women like Condoleezza Rice, they've killed, who knows, really, I don't think we'll ever know the true number, but in the millions, literally in the millions of people in their war on terror, because they are the ones who started the war on terror. And that's been used to bomb 19 different countries. Because it doesn't say, if you read the AUMF, the authorization for the use of military force that was passed in the days after 9/11, and they're still using to this day, it doesn't say we're going after Al-Qaeda or the Taliban or Afghanistan. It doesn't say any of that. It just vaguely specifies those who, you know, attacked our country and aided and abetted them. So all they have to do is say, well, we think you're Al-Qaeda and we're going to kill you. We think that country might have Al-Qaeda. We're going to go bomb it. And this is how it keeps going. And it's still in use to this day. No president will ever repeal that because it's a cash cow. It's America's blank check to make, you know, unlimited sums of money for their arms dealers. And of course, let me repeat, that's a U.S. law. It's not an international law. It doesn't have any legal basis outside the borders of the United States. But nevertheless, that is a creation of George Bush, and they used it to violate the sovereignty, to bomb 19 countries. Has this guy ever received as much of a bad rap as they're giving Putin right now? No, he was certainly hated, but not to this level. I mean, no one banned Americans from buying houses in the EU. No one banned American food or American trees or American cats or American music. No, none of this happened. There was nothing like that in Europe or in the West. He got away with it, and he's standing up there now and giving lectures about invasions. Takes one to know one, man. I will admit, he's the perfect person to do this. Wow. And her as well. Don't forget the rest of his ghoul squad or neocon. I don't know, whatever you want to call them, man. Whatever you want to call them. They're neoconservatives at the end of the day. And honestly, who isn't in the U.S. establishment? Who isn't? But it says a lot when you have people like that being normalized, rehabilitated, right? So Colin Powell. You know, the Democrats invited Colin Powell to the Democratic National Convention in 2020. They invited that war criminal who went to the UN and lied about Iraqi weapons of mass destruction. And it's ironic because I was just talking to Scott Ritter, right? And Scott Ritter is as we were saying, he was in charge of disarming, of making sure that Iraq was disarming. He was he was one of the inspectors for the UN with that mandate. And you know, he was telling people in 2002, 2003, there are no weapons in Iraq. You're lying. And they didn't care. They didn't care about that. And in 1998, there's even videos of him speaking to Biden about this. They don't want to listen. But going back to the UN and Colin Powell, this is, again, this is the famous image where he's going, he's giving the speech at the UN Security Council in New York. And he holds up this vial of powder. It's just powder, and no one knows what's in there. Is it baby formula? Is it washing detergent? Whatever. And he's like, this is evidence. This is the evidence of what Iraq can produce. And he gives this ridiculous presentation with cartoon. I'm not even kidding. I wish I were kidding. He gives this presentation with 3D modeled trucks. Like, this is his proof. I'm not even kidding. They killed 1 million people in Iraq over this joke, these cartoons. And it was all lies. It was all fake. And that was under Bush. And they have the stones now to talk about, oh, it's a brutal invasion. And insufferable, truly insufferable. You know, this is the twilight zone that we're in. Is that if you invade countries and you bomb countries and you kill 1 million people, but you do it as the British and the Americans, it's okay. You're a liberator, right? Oh, we are liberating the people of Iraq. We are going to save the world from harm, and all this nonsense. But you know, if you're Russian, you're not allowed to have security concerns, and you're a war criminal, and it's very clear cut, right? I wish they had this clarity for people like Bush. He's still alive. You can still prosecute him. You think they're going to do that? This is why Bush specifically refused to join the ICC. Right? And every president since, because they're all guilty of war crimes. And that's why the UK also refused to ratify the crime of aggression under the ICC. These are the people who are leading the West. They are war criminals, and they get away with the same things that they accuse Putin of. The same things, if not worse. I think by any metric, by any standard, you could certainly argue that what the Bush administration did is 1 million times worse than what Putin is doing, what Russia's doing. Now, if you want to say, well, it's about the principle, okay, fine. So it's the principle. Where's the war criminal tribunal for him? Huh? So you can't win with them, right? You can't win with the current climate that we're in. And even when Bush was hated and really despised in the mainstream, they still wouldn't do nothing, right? You remember Nancy Pelosi? She's the House Speaker now. She was also, I lost count how many times she's been House Speaker, but during the Bush years, she knew he was lying about weapons of mass destruction. She refused to impeach him. So once again, you see Democrats, Republicans are like this with each other. Let's play it one more time just for the laughs.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia, and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq. I mean, of Ukraine. Iraq, too. Anyway. 75.
Did he say Iraq? Iraq too? I feel like he said the word too. Anyway, one last thing that I'll leave you with is when Bush met Putin. I think this was in 2000 or 2001, and he had this to say about Putin. Okay, so this is the quote. Okay. He said, I looked into Putin's eyes. I looked the man in the eye and I found him to be very straightforward and trustworthy. Right? He met him in 2001. Bush said about Putin, I looked the man in the eye. I found him to be very straightforward and trustworthy. I was able to get a sense of his soul. Bush later regretted saying this. All right, whatever. Anyway, that's where we're at. All right. It's only a war crime if you do it as a Russian. I get it.